This is officially the Zack Polanski channel now, although not affiliated. But Zach, if you're watching, throw me a few coppers and I'll be very happy to take them. Anyway, today I'm going to go over a bit of an interview from Zach's podcast, Bold Politics, with Jordan Stevens from Rizzle Kicks. No idea what Rizzle Kicks is. I listen to the Residents. If you know who they are, you know. But this guy's really cool. I really like him a lot. He's really perceptive. And they speak about the current political environment and the need for male role models. The left have failed men in many ways. But I think we're coming back. I think we're learning lessons and we are improving. So let's get straight into the video.
As a consequence of me talking about things that are important to me, health, mental health, well-being, the emotional well-being, that's a massive part of my journey as a human, to just feel more stable. And obviously, as I've grown more interested in that and wanting other people, especially young boys and men, to feel good about themselves, it's really impossible to do that without ending up stumbling into politics, because often people are led astray, I believe, by arguably less important matters. And then so I've become more politically engaged, and as that's happened, you have come to the forefront. And I love what you do, because you confront conversations head on. And I think that's something that's been, I don't know, man, I feel like the left has fallen into a overly puritanical muck. Where I think there's been a few years now where people want to say things, but they're not 100% sure that they're completely accurate. And that seems to be the only time in which you can say something. And I feel in that time, there's been a whole, dare I say, ecosystem built up on the other side of the agenda, and they just talk constantly. They just say, and it doesn't even matter if it's hyperbolic or inaccurate. It's just about speed and delivery. So even just seeing you talk head on to these people about what you believe in with no, hesitance. It's just nice. It's good to see.
That's really lovely. I want to be lovely straight back, actually. So I spoke to a friend this morning and said that I was speaking to you and how excited I was. And then he's a father of a young child, a young boy. And he said to me, will you ask him about male role models? Because for him, you're the epitome of what a good male role model is. He's in the public sphere.
Wow.
So how important are male role models?
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Look, male role models are essential. They're male role models, female role models, people modeling a lifestyle that I think is suitable for adults, I think is good. I believe in passing down teachings. I believe in guidance. I believe in mentorship. I believe in the importance of elders. Like, these are all things that have had a massively positive effect on my development and my maturity. I mean, I'm obviously, I think there will be some natural inclination for young men or young women, respectively, looking to older versions of themselves for what they should and shouldn't do, or looking for boundaries. So I don't know, man. I ended up in the space of talking about gender because I was a very self-destructive person in my 20s. I was living a life that is, well, certainly in my generation, was sold as what we should desire as young men: money, attention, admiration, and just didn't serve me greatly. And so in order for me to deal with big questions like, why did I become famous so young? What does that mean to me? Why do I seek validation through this thing or that thing? Through asking myself these questions, I started to see these patterns in how other people experience themselves, and I wrote a book about it, Avoidance, Drugs, Heartbreak and Dogs, and that was it's not prescriptive, it's not how to, it's not 15 ways to change your life. It's not that. It's my experience, my journey, because I know that when I was going through heartbreak, when I was really struggling to understand my emotional world, there wasn't necessarily many cultural references for me to lean into, certainly not for straight men. So and then from doing that, I've spoken more about it, and look, no one has to go down my route. Like I see the allure of other people online, and I get it on a shallow level. People want like a big house and a big car and all this stuff. But I just know that what I've learned, having experienced, having, you know, one of my biggest blessings in my life is I've met, seen, and hung around with all different types of people, you know, and been all around the world and been through 4 or 5 different wage brackets. And I've arrived at this point where I'm like, wow, do you know what's fantastic? Like feeling connected to myself, to my partner, or my immediate community. You know, one of the reasons why I want to.
That's a really beautiful point, actually. When do we talk about just empathy and having connection to your partner, your family, your community, your workplace? People don't feel that at all, especially the workplace. I think a third hate the workplace, another third just going through the motions, and then another third actually like their workplace. And then you have people who are lonely, isolated, and don't feel like actually maybe they can have the connection with their partner. Maybe they don't feel like they can communicate. A lot of men are like that, where they've been brought up not to talk about their feelings, not to talk about their needs. A lot of men don't even think their needs are important. Like their need to be heard and have a connection with their partner or their children. And it's really fucking sad, isn't it? That men's needs often are just a joke. Like, oh, just suck it up, mate. Suck it up. No one gives a fucking shit about you. Because a lot of people don't care about men. And it is sad. But I think the left are learning. He's right. The left have been too puritanical, too censorious. But I think we're getting better. I think we are the free speech advocates now. And I like to think that I build a space where people can say what they want. I will call them out on this channel. But I think we need to have conversations. We do. I think it's okay to call other people out. People call me out, whatever. But I think we need to offer a version of connection. That's it. What does it mean to be a man? It means to help other people. It means to build a world that's better for the majority. A lot of right-wingers, Elon Musk, say empathy is the kind of downside of civilization, the enemy of civilization. No, it's really not. People want to feel connection. We are an emotional species. People like to feel connected.
Go out and talk and do talks and do this and whatever else is because I actually feel good when I feel like I'm serving my community. That's something that it's not like a quantitative feeling, but I wish it was, because then you could market it more.
Totally.
Yeah, it wouldn't it be great if we had barometers of connection? Like, oh, I want to be with this person because they have managed to create connection. But obviously we live in a society where, capitalism doesn't financially reward people who are emotionally connected. In many cases, it does the opposite.
Genuinely, one of my favourite moments on TV in the last few years was actually on New Year's Eve. I'm sure it wasn't filmed on New Year's Eve. In fact, I know it wasn't, but the Jules Holland.
Yes.
But just seeing the love you had for your partner,
for Jade,
and
yeah.
the way you celebrate each other in a way that I imagine other couples would go, or maybe this is too much of a display of love. And I guess I'm partly saying it's exactly how I feel about my partner.
Yes, great.
And, in fact, the only time I've broken down as a politician was the day I won thanking him, just in terms of the emotion of the public love
that support.
of how you feel about that person.
Yeah, man. Dude, listen, straight up, I didn't realise the extent of how encouraging and motivating love can be. And it's so funny because I remember as a millennial boy, so many of the conversations were anti-love in a funny way, because obviously we were young, we don't understand what we're saying. But love was...
Yeah, being in love as a young boy is gay. You're gay. How sad is that? How sad is that, discouraging people, young men, from feeling love for their friends, for women, their family? Insane.
almost like it was definitely considered a weakness. If you loved your partner, be like, oh my God, you're in love with them, you know what I mean? And it would be reflected sometimes in what we'd listen to and see on screen. You know, the heroes we celebrated were often lone wolves. You know, there's all of these messages were kind of fed. So I didn't know. I actually really did. And, you know, my mum and dad have always been friends, but they've never been together. They weren't conventionally married. There's none of this, you know. So I didn't have any blueprint, never had it really supported culturally. So it's actually been quite a shock. I've had other partners and I've experienced something towards, you know, I've obviously had connections with them, forms of love with them, but I never felt until Jade that I was mature enough to actually be present in a relationship and actually give and receive in the way that was necessary. Teach someone how to love me for a start, you know, and then be able to listen and give them love back. And it's great. And this is what I want everyone to know, especially men. Like, I swear, man, like, I really believe the root of people who are avoidant and less willing to throw themselves into love is because actually when we were young, we had our hearts broken in ways that we couldn't conceive. And so we spend our whole lives overcompensating, but actually it's...
Yeah, a lot of men will be hurt by women, perceived or real, and they will have a lot of resentment for women and see women as the enemy and a kind of conquest. That's how men are told to see women, and it's so strange and destructive. And this is why gender is so destructive. We're told that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and these prescriptive models of what it is to be. And the left, I think, maybe are a bit too free, like, do what you want. And I agree with that. You should do what you want. But also we need to provide a kind of means of how do you love your partner? And that's hard. It's hard, isn't it? Like how do you love your partner? Well, empathy is the beginning, listening, wanting a connection. And again, as he says, capitalism is the antipathy towards that. Like, we're not told to have a connection as men with our partners, and we find it hard sometimes. But yeah, it's a big challenge.
Just such a... I mean, you know, I'm speaking to you. For you to have that emotion to understand, God, man, like, I feel like I wouldn't have been able to be here without the support I have. Like, what a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the kind of vibe we should be pushing, you know? Like, what don't we want to rise with our community? Like, what an amazing feeling that is.
And why don't you think that...
Yeah, I don't like, and this is anecdotal, but I don't like the way a lot of men talk about their partners as a burden, as in like, oh, you know, she goes on. And I think we need to have more understanding of the other gender, because these are all social constructs. We you know, mediate these role models and terms and expectations, and we have control over this. Like, what it means to be a man is not a universal archetype, and we need to have this discussion. We need to talk to each other. And it's kind of not been happening. But I hope we can in the future. I think we can hopefully talk to each other.
Vibe is there more present. Do you think it is just capitalism? Is that literally it?
Well, obviously, capitalism seems like it's like a big word. I guess, look, a consequence of the capitalism that we're using is hyper-individualism,
right,
or individualism, let's say. You know, it is of the benefit to a certain fraction of society to encourage people to think for themselves, build themselves, improve themselves. You know, even things like self-love as a movement have kind of been commodified. I said this the other day because there's been a big wave of entrepreneurship being pushed on, especially boys. Everybody's got to be an entrepreneur because AI is coming and this is coming and that's coming and everybody's got to start their own business. Everyone's got to have a business and you've got to build a business, otherwise you're going to be left behind, you know? And I remember hearing this and being like, you know, not everyone wants to be a boss, man. Like, not everyone wants to lead a company. Like, how can we possibly have a population full of business owners? Who's the people buying into your business? Is it just the size of your business in comparison to other businesses? It just felt odd because I've always believed that, you know, a community is an organism. Everybody plays a role within that society, and if everybody manages to put that into harmony, then you build for everybody. You know, there's a quote I saw on TikTok the other day, which was like, this guy said, in order to conduct the orchestra, you must turn your back on the audience, right? And it was delivered with the vigor and you know, definitiveness of somebody who has stumbled across a beautiful quote. And I felt it immediately. I thought, okay, I get that. A lot of people need validation.
Right.
They need to understand whether it works or not. Audience capture is a massive thing you would have seen in politics and online. But then a part of me was like, or the conductor's audience is the orchestra. You know, it's the orchestra and they're all playing. And the conductor would have no job without the orchestra, without a proportion of people with a skill set who are willing to follow the guidance of a person and face the audience themselves. Like it felt like such a fascinating quote, because it was like the nebulous of perhaps our confusions in society.
This is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we are told constantly you're an individual. Over the last 40 years of neoliberalism, you're hyper individual, you're a brand in yourself. I mean, I experienced this to an extent with YouTube. You've got to position yourself in a unique niche, and people don't want to do that. They just want to live their lives and feel like, you know, I don't have to be an entrepreneur. I can maybe work for a company, or people just want to be paid well for their labor. They don't want to spend the whole life on a career where it may fail, it may work out, but it's going to be pretty much down to luck whether you do as a business. I mean, so many businesses fail, don't they? So go watch the rest of the interview. It's really good, actually. He's a really perceptive guy. He's a really likable guy. I'm not sure if he's going to go into politics, but he seems very aware, and we need to be having these discussions. And I'm so glad that Zach is just covering so many bases: trans, environmental, EU. There's lots to be talking about, and he's having all these conversations simultaneously, and that's really strong. He's not just going one, you know, he's not just talking about inequality. He's talking about a whole slew of issues, because we need to come at this in a multi-pronged way. We can't just talk about inequality. We need to be talking about whole different issues, because we need to bring men on board. We need to bring women on board. We need to bring trans people. We need to bring older people, younger people, black people, Muslims, Jews. Everyone needs to be on board. Everyone is welcome in this movement. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, join the membership from 99 pence a month, and I'll see you next time.